Welcome back to the Through the Lane podcast. Last episode, because I was sick, I didn't really promote it. But we're going to start off today with MLB stuff. Then we're going to go through what all broke, I think, yesterday and today with the Jets. And then I've come out with some mock draft rankings for rookies. And then, right now what's big is the NFL MVP. And then we're just going to go ahead and knock out the college football playoff matchup that starts tomorrow when the episode should be out. So we're going to knock this out. Hopefully it's an hour-long episode. But starting off, the Yankees. They don't get Juan Soto. Juan Soto goes to the Mets. And what do? They pivot quick and they sign Max Fried to an 8-year, $212 million deal. It's a good deal. The rotation's now overcrowded. They've kind of fixed that, though, with the Nestor. They traded Nestor Cortez. We'll talk about that in just a second. But now also you've got young guys like Chase Hampton, Will Warren, Luis Gill, who now you don't know where they fit. It's just looking at their depth chart, looking at what this projected rotation is going to look like. Looking at this. So you're looking at here Cole, Fried, Rodon, Gill, Stroman, and the bullpen looks even better. Then you have Clark Schmidt, who at one point looked like their be their long reliever. And then you as well have top prospects in Will Warren. I think he's still on the team. Yeah, Will Warren, Clayton Beeter, Chase Hampton, other guys. And they're going to draft other people too. Scott Efferos, Yuri De Los Santos, both bullpen guys. But this is their pitching now became extremely deep, right? I'm looking at this bullpen with Luke Weaver coming over. And side note, they lost Clay Holmes. He signed with the Mets too, but he's going to transition over to be a starter. That makes no sense to me because his track record as a starter was not that good. There's a reason why he became a bullpen arm, and they're trying to switch him over. I get what the Mets are trying to do. But at the same time, when guys convert over, they were really good at one point, and injuries or lack of command or something fell off, right? Like Mason Miller, injuries. To protect his arm, they put him in the bullpen as the Athletics. Clay Holmes was kind of he struggled. He didn't debut till he was 27. He struggled. They put him in the bullpen. And then it was 2 years later, he was kind of good for the Pirates. Then they traded him to the Yankees, and he went off. So you're looking at that, and you're like, well, it makes no sense. Nothing where you look at Clay Holmes' stats where you're like, yeah, good starter. It really doesn't. I'm trying to think. Not Trevor May. The guy that's at the Royals. Who was a reliever, then signed with, I think, the Padres to become a starter, and then he worked that deal over to become a longer starter for Seth Lugo. There's guys like that, I guess. Cole Reagans was a top prospect for them, and then he got it back. But nothing. The Clay Holmes thing just doesn't stand out. The control kind of fell off at times. It's just not good. But so the Yankees pivot, right? They lose their closer, they lose their star, and I think people forget they still have one of the top prospects, and I'm still high on this kid, Jason Dominguez. The alien, he's 22, 23. He had Tommy John's last offseason. He come back, he has 34 games in AAA, so it's not a lot. But you sign somebody to a small deal to play left field. You're fine then, because right now you're looking at this is actually a deeper team. I like where they're going from this, right? So you brought in Jazz Chisholm. He can play second, third, shortstop, center field. Great. Utility, super utility guy. You still have DJ LeMahieu, who can kind of bounce from first, third, or play a corner spot, but really just play all over the infield. Then they trade for Devin Williams. And that was huge. I don't think they gave up much for him. And this, that trade in itself was That was huge. Okay, so you bring in him with Max Free. And then also they traded for Cody Bellinger from the Cubs, and the Cubs that he was going to leave the Cubs anyways because they had just traded for Kyle Tucker, which shocked me that the Astros got rid of Kyle Tucker. I'm trying to see who they gave up in this trade for him. Caleb Durham and Cody Poteet. No. Nestor Cortez, Elmer Rodriguez, and Caleb Durham and Nestor Cortez. So yeah, they didn't give up much. You gave up Nestor Cortez for a team that needed started relieving, and then you give in a super utility guy. He was with the Braves, hits well. He's kind of smaller, not much power there, but you give up Caleb Durham when you have a crowded infield. He doesn't really play first base, and that's where you really need help. So you give him up. You bring in a lockdown closer who's going to be around for a few years, so you can re-sign. He's not going to demand a lot of money. You also have Luke Weaver, who had a fantastic postseason. And then Ian Hamilton, who's looked great. Mark Leiter, who's a very solid reliever. Jake Cousins, who came on strong second half of last season, right? Then you have Jonathan Loaizaga, who's going to come back at some point. You have Scott Efros. You have Clayton Beater, who looked good. Will Warren. Yuri De Los Santos. I mean, you look at this bullpen, and there's a lot of talent there. Colton Brewer, Wilkin Rodriguez. They did good job. They did a good job with replacing. They're like, okay, the lineup's going to struggle a little bit. Let's replace. Let's go focus on pitching where we think we may have failed last year. You bring in Max Fried, who is now your 1B, and then Rodon's your 1C, and then Gill and Stroman back it up. There's not much pressure, and then whatever you do with Stroman, you still have Clark Schmidt, which is still crazy to me. They have 6 starters on this team that could take the ball at like a game 3 in a playoff game. So you do that. Then you bring in Cody Bellinger to play maybe center field, looks like center field, to move Aaron Judge off of it to help prolong him. And then also, by the way, you still have Jazz Chisholm, who's going to play second base, great batter. He can hopefully stay healthy. You pair him up beside Anthony Volpe. So now you're looking at this. Jason Dominguez, he's the protege. He's who they want to have playing long-term in the outfield to pair up beside Aaron Judge and kind of be part of that next wave with Volpe. Right? He probably would have started last year, and you don't see the Verdugo thing, if he doesn't have Tommy Johns at the end of the 23 season. He probably is the starter of the whole 24 season because he was hitting, he torched Verlander in a game. The only issue now, the only 2 holes I see is first base and third base. Oswaldo Cabrera is best used at a super utility role. As an everyday option at third base, it just does not look good. They're going to have to come up with something. Maybe personally, you empty it up and you go Nolan Arenado. They're looking to trade him. He's a still pretty good defender. He does not have to be an excellent batter like he did with the Cardinals. He can sit at the bottom, bat 250, and you'd be happy and him give you Golden Glove defense. And all you have to give up is, maybe a Clayton Beater, maybe Yorba Rivas, a Rocco Rigo. They've got infield prospect for days. Roger Arias, George Lombard Jr. maybe, Spencer Jones. I don't think Spencer Jones or Roger Arias get traded, so you're probably looking at George Lombard, who's now blocked. Unless they put him at third base, which then you want to get rid of Roger Arias. But if you get Arenado, you can put him potentially at third or first base. And then you move from there. And then you get another outfielder, who right now are we looking at on the bench. Trent Grisham could potentially play some center field, and then you just move Bellinger to first base. Ben Rice hit a lot of homers, draw walks, but also it was like a poor man, not even poor man's, it was a Dollar General version of Schwarber. He gets you some home runs, he strikes out a lot, and he gets a decent amount of walks, right? And he grew up loving the Yankees. It's a great story, but for a team that wants to contend for World Series, he cannot be, I don't even think your platooning option. And at some point, we've got to come to terms with DJ LeMahieu not being the same player he was 2-3 years ago. He struggled a lot, and you say, oh, it's injuries. At some point, the injuries and the production and what he's putting on the field has to overdo it all. Like, it has to stand out. Like, you have to be like, okay, maybe it's not injuries. Maybe he's just getting old. He is 36 years old. He's going to be closer to 37 on opening day. Again, Austin Wells is good, but you're looking at just getting a veteran. I think Arenado would be great, because then Cabrera could be your super utility guy. You can give up Oswald Peraza, who has been passed now, and doesn't look like he's got much of a future on the Yankees, but high upside. You use him as trade bait as well, unless you believe he's your future third baseman, and then you may move someone like Arenado to first base, or Yohan Moncada. You sign Yohan Moncada. You're not getting Bregman. I don't think they have the money to get Bregman, because he's going to command a big deal. But you could, or they go out, sign somebody they can put in center field, a Harrison Bader, someone like that, a decent bat. That didn't be redundant with Trent Grisham. Stick them in center, put Cody Bellinger at first base, and let it run with it. I like what the Yankees are doing. They said, okay, we're going to build a better all-around roster. They were top-heavy last year, and they said, we're going to address it. We're going to go out and get another pitcher. We're going to get one of the best relievers in baseball. We're going to get a really good, versatile defender and offensive player in Cody Bellinger. And then now you just got, really, Arenado is what you got to look at. Personally, if I'm the Yankees, knowing Arenado is my guy. Like, they're trying to trade him. Maybe you even bring back his buddy Paul Goldschmidt and you pair them up in your corners. Or you get Cole, I know Paul Goldschmidt had a rough year, so maybe you just see if he's still got some left for a year, and then you let some of these other guys develop and move forward from there. But right now, you don't have a young guy that you can plug in at third base or first that you can feel confident that can win you stuff. Because Rizzo, Ben Rice and Rizzo played very similar. That's why when Rizzo came back, they sent Ben Rice down. So I think the Yankees still got work to do, but so far, Cashman has done a great job of building this roster. Now, this year, you look at it, it's Aaron Bit. If you underperform and defensively you're bad, like scouting reports were saying, and you're terrible on running the bases, it's Aaron Boone. When reports are we're not afraid of them stealing, we're not afraid of them getting aggressive, and defensively we know we'll get a hit and they'll make a defensive error. Volpe makes them, Volpe has sky-high Golden Glove potential, but he just makes some errant throws, kind of like Ella De La Cruz for the Reds. Great potential defensively, but makes some boneheaded decisions, or just can't grab a ball, and you're like, dude, come on. It's stuff like that. And him and Jazz Chisholm, very errant, but can sometimes make some of the most jaw-dropping plays you see in the infield. So, you gotta figure, that's why Arenado, you shore up that side. You get a former Platinum Glove winner. Now, maybe he's not to that standard anymore, but he's still pretty good, still can roll with it, and you shore it up. Now, Cubs. They talked about moving Seiya Suzuki, and I didn't understand that because he had a good end of the year. But the move they made, and I love the move, because this team has developed well. You got Michael Busch that developed. Pete Crow Armstrong had a very solid year as a starting center fielder. Michael Shaw, their former first-round pick, looks ready to get third base to take it over. He ripped up the minors. And then this bullpen, low-key, is kind of nasty. You're just now looking at this. There's just a lot of unprovens, but they bring in Kyle Tucker, right? And I think they got one of the better outfields now in baseball. You've got Ian Happ, Golden Glove winner. Kyle Tucker, Golden Glove winner, Silver Slugger, and PCA could probably be a Platinum Glove winner in center field, and his bat's starting to come along. I love the move. They got rid of Cody Bellinger because they knew they couldn't keep him long term, and he's the Scott Boras thing. He's going to demand so much money, and it's going to be so many opt-out clauses, and it's just not worth it. So you bring in Kyle Tucker, a guy who you're going to have to extend soon. You believe you can extend. He's got higher upside. He's played almost MVP caliber baseball. He's a very underrated outfielder. He will give you 30 home runs, 100 RBIs on very good slashes with batting average, on base, and slugging. batting around 800 OPS or 900. That's not what you're getting from Bellinger. Bellinger, you're getting more versatility because you slide him down to first base. But like Michael Busch was raking last year, right? PCA is the future. He is about to be 23. Great defensively. The bat's starting to come around. He is fast on the bases to where he will be on a major league roster. And with a kid that talent, you've got to give him his runway in center field. And if it doesn't work out, you can move one of those guys back over and have them run it. Oh, and by the way, they still got outfield prospects for days, right? They have another first baseman, Matt Mervis. He hit 30 home runs in the minor leagues about 2 years ago. You have Owen Cassey, who is a top 100 prospect in the outfield, who looks like he's going to be a monster. He was part of the Darius trade. So again, trade chip, or if PCA does not work out, you put him in center field. And you got a guy who's got a better bat, or you paired them up. You got Cassidy, who's got a better bat, not that good defensively, about average. And then PCA, who's average on a good day. I think PCA's ceiling is average on a good day, offensively, elite out defensively. And Cassie, elite offensively, average on a good day defensively. Now, of course, they can go and be elite at both sides. But right now, you're looking at Owen Cassey, who's got massive power. If he can stay healthy, holy cow. I mean, this team, you still have Christian Franklin. This team, they've got depth. Like, I love that move. They did not give up much for him. Right? And I think also that they got fleeced for the Cody Bellinger trade. They only got Cody Poteet, who is a really good reliever. But, I mean, they traded Isaac Paredes to the Astros and Cam Smith. So they drafted another third baseman. Cam Smith, so they looking at this, I forgot about this. They cleared out the hodgepodge and the stacking of third baseman because you had Isaac Paredes, really good third baseman. Defensively can move around, but average, he's like what the Rays love, but the average is not always there, right? He hits for a lot of power, has a lot of potential, but was just not there just yet. So what do? And then, so you trade him. You have Cam Smith, who you drafted high up in the draft. But like you're sold on Matt Shaw. Again, I'm high on Matt Shaw. He's ripped through the minors. I mean, he was already in AAA in his first full year, and I think he hit like 3-something in AAA. So you get rid of that. And Hayden Wojnarowski, who you got from the Yankees in a trade, who really kind of fell out of the rotation, fell out of the plans. So what do? You trade all three of them, and you bring in freaking Kyle Tucker, which was a great deal. The only downside of this all is I think they got fleeced. You only got Cody Poteet for Cody Bellinger, and that's just a shame. But, I mean, we're looking at a rotation here. Shota, who looks great. Justin Steele. There's 1A and 1B, which, I mean, if you can have a 1A and 1B, that's fantastic. I mean, you're Yankees in them both. James Taillon, who's a good middle-of-the-rotation pitcher. Matthew Boyd, who struggled with health, but when healthy, looked really good. And Javier Azad, who is a really good back end of the bullpen arm. He's not going to wow you every week, but he's going to give you some weeks he'll go under 3 ERA. Some weeks he'll have about a 4.2. It's what you want from your fifth starter. And then then looking at the pitching depth, I mean, Matt Shaw is like a top 30 prospect. But looking at the pitching depth, you still have Jordan Wicks, who showed out, right? You have Cody Poteet. When healthy with the Yankees, he pitched really well, right? Ben Brown, who throws gas out of the bullpen when he was in the bullpen and started, looks fantastic, right? So there's 3. Jordan Wicks helped them get to that playoff push in 2023, was hurt for most of 24. Ben Brown debuted in 24 and looked really good, throws gas, probably a bullpen arm. Cody Poteet, when healthy, looked good for the Yankees. And then you have a top prospect, Cade Horton, who looks amazing, will probably debut some point this season, all in AAA. You look at that, you've got 4 guys who will fill in this rotation when you've got really just 2 spots, because I'm not sold on Jamison Taillon and Matthew Boyd. So you go in 4 prospects, 4 young guys to fill 2 spots. 2 of them have to pan out. Jordan Wicks looked good. Last year, health with his shoulder, I think, impacted his results. Now, if it shows on, then maybe he just had a really good rookie year. Cade Horton looks fantastic, and Ben Brown is nasty. Throws high 90s with a nasty slider and nasty off-speed pitch. It's what you want, but also he kind of struggles with command, so he's going to be great in the bullpen. And now this bullpen, I think people forget because Albert Alzolay was hurt. Hector Norris was not what advertised. Mark Leiter struggled a little bit. So, and some guys got hurt. So you're like, the bullpen fell apart. Well, they found a great job. Porter Hodge was a back 30 top prospect in the organization. Ended up becoming their closer, who was a starting prospect all the way through, but they're like, he's ready to pitch in the bullpen now. Put him in there, and he worked his way through low leverage and then put himself in the closing position and looks good, right? Tyson Miller, underrated trade with the Mariners because the Mariners needed a guy to pitch. They DFA'd him. The Cubs were like, well, we need a reliever too right now. Send you some cash, bring him over. And he pitched really well to the point of where he was like, well, we can't get rid of him. He's not giving us a reason. He's striking out at a high rate. He's pitching real well. So they kept him on it. As the season went on, he pitched higher and higher leverage. I love in baseball the under the radar bullpen pickups where you're like, he's got velocity or he's got nasty movement. We just need to work in with him. He's not throwing this one pitch that is great enough, and he's throwing this other pitch that struggles too much. So we dial that back, switch it up, and then they're elite. Then you got Nate Pearson, who for a while was an elite starter prospect, couldn't stay healthy, but throws 100 miles an hour. And I know people like velo, and I'm kind of getting the same way. Velo can only get you so far. But the velo gets you in the door in the league for baseball. And he's got that 100, 101, 98 mile-an-hour fastball with a nasty slider that can get you in the door. Kind of late inning stuff or fireman stuff that you need to get you out. All it is he can hone in. He's got to hone in his control. But this will be his first full year with the Cubs. And at times last year with the Blue Jays and the Cubs, he looked like a future closer. So like this potential's there, right? Keegan Thompson, he's a very good soft ground pitcher who will get you ground balls. Not going to wow you away, but he's just going to eat innings, right? Eli Morgan, great reliever for the Guardians. The Guardians but had a lot of injuries in their bullpen last year and put Hunter Gaddis, Cade Smith, Tim Herron, and some other guys up in the bullpen, and they took off. And Eli Morgan's making more money than he needs to for what role he was going to have with the Guardians. He's going to pitch low leverage to mid leverage, and he's going to make a decent bit of money. So they traded him to the Cubs, and I love that pickup. Luke Little, lefty, throws mid to high 90s, which is elite in premium from the left side, which every team would love, right? And he's young. He's got potential. He's only 24. And I mean, this bullpen, right now we're going through it, there's so much there. Then Julian Merriweather, when healthy, is nasty. 2 years ago, when he played, he pitched high leverage innings in the back of this Cubs bullpen, dealt with some injuries last year. But again, throws high 90s from the right side. High velo bullpens can either go really well or really bad, but if you got a lot of them guys, you need 3 or 4 of them just to pan out. And if the rest don't, that's fine. Keegan Thompson's going to be there, right? And Eli Morgan's going to be there. Both those guys don't throw high velo. Eli Morgan's more strikeout than Keegan, but that's still, those guys are proven. And you know what you're going to get from them. So you've got 2. Then you've got Porter Hodge, Tyson Miller. Porter Hodge doesn't throw that hard too. He throws like 96, which is still hard, but it's not insane. But he's just very reliable, right? But it was only his rookie year, so we've got to see more. So you got Tyson Miller, Porter Hodge, Nate Pearson, Luke Little, and Merriweather. 5 guys. So you've already got 2. You just need 2 more than these 5 to pan out, and you've got a good bullpen, right? And then you add in, I mean, they've got another top catching prospect in Moses Ballastroy, which is really their only hole in this lineup now is catcher. But they've got a top prospect who at some point will come along and play. Then they've got depth in the outfield in the prospect market, so they can make moves for relievers or pitching. And Ben Brown can end up pitching out of the bullpen. I mean, that's like his floor is a guaranteed really good bullpen reliever. Like this team, they just look really good. I love where the Yankees and the Cubs have done this offseason. They put a lot of work in, filling in around the margins, and put where they needed to be fixed, and just clearing out mess. And I love what I've seen. The Kyle Tucker trade was huge. They've got pitching prospect for days. It's going to have to work out at some point. I mean, you know, they've got hope. They've got hope. I think Cam Smith was their first-round pick from this year. Also, in the bullpen, Daniel Placia, I forgot about him, throws gas from the right side. Was given closing duties at points during the season because he throws hard. just controls at the place. But again, if he can hone in on his control a little bit more, he's again an elite reliever. Ethan Roberts, kid from White County, I think, had a great was pitched elite down the end of the season, like the last month or two. Again, another option. You need to pass out. Then you have Phil Bigford, who is again had great moments in Major League as a mid-leverage reliever. There's another option. Jack Neely, they added, pitched really well towards the end of the season. They've got options. And that's what they didn't have last year. And they had to force some guys in it. Now you've got some guys who pitched, and now they can play. And now you feel confident. You just now got to figure out catcher and hope Michael Bush and Matt Shaw hold up their ends of the bargain. I want to look at what Matt Shaw did in the minors real quick. And then we're going to go to the Jets drama. Which the Jets drama is like movie-esque stuff. Matt Shaw last year batted .284 with a .379 on-base percentage, .488 slugging, .867 OPS. He stole 31 bases. He had 21 home runs, 71 RBIs, drew 62 walks to 95 strikeouts in 121 games, and I think he finished the year in AAA. Batted around 300 in AAA. He looked really good. So I love what they done. They've cleared the path for him to play, and if it doesn't work out, oh well. They've got other guys they can play there that they probably aren't huge on, but they can, like Miles Mastrobuoni, or James Trianos. But it's a very interesting week with that. Now, to the Jets drama. Now, this was huge. And this is the Woody Johnson thing. It gets worse and worse and worse. An article was released about all this, right? And it was that Woody Johnson is letting his 17-year-old son, Brick, run the team pretty much. And, we talked about the Jerry Jeudy trade being nixed. Come to find out, it was because, in this article, because the people that had been just fired from the organization, with The Athletic, a very notable journalistic source, and a guy, and they're also done by the New York Times. So, this is a legit source. Talked about it. His Madden rating was too low. Told his dad, and his dad was like, yeah, we're not doing that trade. His awareness was too low. Like, that's just ridiculous. That is Bush League stuff. And then he looks at Mike White in 2022, who had a bad game, played on broken ribs, and told him, you suck. And he said, you'd have been better throwing your freaking helmet at people. Which is crazy because Woody Johnson never played a snap of football. Mike White was hurt, was loved by the team, and you're just going to say that to him? It's a joke. Then, not only, they were making moves around the margins from what the son said. They're letting this 17-year-old son, Joe Judge said, I have reported to a 17-year-old. The interim coach, Brent Ulbrich, came in, won his first game, right? The son did not want to give him the game ball, got another game ball, and gave it to Garrett Wilson while they were supposed to be congratulating Ulbrich. Because Aaron Rodgers wanted to give Ulbrich the game ball, which that's its own thing. Aaron Rodgers and the whole Ryan Clark thing is massive, and I think we're seeing Aaron Rodgers' true colors come through. But Mike White, like the dogging of Mike White, the Jerry Jeudy thing, the game ball, the benching, how he looked and said, let's bench Aaron Rodgers week 4. Apparently, Brick Johnson, Woody Johnson's son, is on the call for draft picks. He helps influences these decisions, and they say it's like fantasy football. It's a legitimate joke. This is stuff like they were talking about, like, you just can't, this doesn't seem real to what is happening. Like, there's no way it's real. There's no way that this is actually going on with the team. And this is a team, some players are talking about how they just felt like it was a joke of being in this organization, which, it really is. Here it is. They called him more than 20 people in and around the franchise anonymously described Johnson as an over-involved, impulsive owner, with one former describing the organization as the most dysfunctional place imaginable. When the Jets moved Zach Wilson, Denver asked for the final pick of the draft. Johnson instead pushed to trade the 256th pick which the Jets also own, so the Jets could select Mr. Irrelevant because he wanted his own version of Brock Purdy. Funny enough, they took a safety and he hasn't played a snap. They happily took but the Broncos happily took the pick using it on a guard, while the Jets used it on Jalen Key, who they released from their practice squad in October. Also, the trade from Jerry Jeudy fell apart because the wide receivers rating in EA's Madden game was too low, and that was because Brick was telling his dad Woody that it was talking to him about it. I mean, there are players, and Pat McAfee brought this up. There's a picture on Brick's Instagram. He's holding the game ball when Ben Olbrich, the interim head coach, won a game. And all of the players in the background are mean-mugging him. But mean-mug, because he came in and made some big stink and talked about how Garrett Wilson was the reason why. Not giving it this first head coach's first ever win as a head coach. Again, he's the interim head coach, did not plan to be it. He just threw it to the side. I mean, you look at this, and it's just a joke. I mean, like, it gets worse and worse and worse with this team. And I mean, to validate this, Michael Silver, Diana Rossini, and Zach Rosenblatt, all three very big-time journalists, wrote this piece. Jerry Jeudy also has just crossed the 1,000-yard mark. If they had gotten Jerry Jeudy, they would have been better. Again, I think they should have gotten Brock Bowers to put at tight end, but that's neither here nor there. He also persuaded into firing Robert Saleh. And again, suggesting to him, hey, let's bench Aaron Rodgers due to poor performance. Who are you going to have to play behind him? Jordan Travis is not ready yet. He's not even off the IR. So what are you going to do? It's very, very dumb. Like, it's just dumb. Like, there's not another way to say about it. It's dysfunctional. It's a joke. I mean, they're 4-10 this year. They're better with Zach Wilson last year. Because at points, Zach Wilson, you're like, well, he can do it. But, I mean, your people, when people are getting fired and they're going, dude, this place was a joke. I mean, Robert Saleh looks so much happier in Green Bay as an advisor than he did as a head coach of an NFL team. I mean, it's so bad. And Woody Johnson declines the Athletics request for comment, which is so dumb. Like, it's like he's known he's caught. But, like, they did everything they could. Like, Joe Douglas did everything he needed to set this team up. And then Woody Johnson's come in, and he set it on fire. I mean, the Athletic article, I mean, just looks huge. He told everyone in the building to address him as Mr. Ambassador. This is a guy that is full of himself. Full of himself. And we're going to talk about a situation where they've done everything wrong in just a second. But, I mean, this is a guy that is highly full of himself. It's a joke. I mean, this is worse than the Giants situation, which is just huge. That's bad in its own right. So, he's going around. He's full of himself. His son's leading the team. I mean, you're looking at this, and it's just like, Bill Belichick described the owner's approach to running an organization as ready, aim, fire. Boom, boom, boom. There's no thought. There's just acting on instinct. He's been right enough just with his random opinions, and that a bad decision doesn't dissuade him. And when he's wrong, who's going to hold him accountable? He kept making, and I quote, smart-ass lines during the draft near a snack bar. He was vocal about drafting Christian Hackenberg out of Penn State in the second round of the 2016 draft, and Hackenberg never played a regular season snap for the Jets. I mean, you're like reading this article is damning. The sources says that he thought he needed the Mr. Relevant pick to get a Brock Purdy. I don't think that's ever going to happen in the history of the NFL. A team wanted a worse pick. And then they cut him, which probably irked him more. I mean, this article, it's huge. And he's enforced, Ulbricht's decision to bench starting safety Tony Adams in November. He's come in and he's made comments. The team, they called him, your jobs becomes managing Woody. as pretty much more than managing the team. This is huge. This is the Judy thing with his son is so damning. It's kind of like the Khan thing in Jacksonville, where you're letting someone with not much football knowledge, just a guy that's going off whim, not stats, feelings, and personal bias, then statistics, analytics, and film, make decisions. And you're seeing what it's ended up. Jacksonville's one of the worst teams in the league, and so are the Jets. And the Jets have really good players. There's no excuse for them to be this bad, and it just keeps going every way. And then Aaron Rodgers just keeps shooting everybody else in the foot with comments he's making. And, it's just, this team is in poverty. Poverty. Now, I forgot to put this on there, but Falcons recently just benched, speaking of quarterbacks and poverty, benched Kirk Cousins, who has struggled mightily for Michael Penix ahead of the Giants game. It was coming. I said this on nausea. The whole thing with Kirk Cousins and you drafting quarterback was bad. And they were barely, I think it was they were by far the lowest team in play action running with Kirk Cousins. He can't even move. So what was the whole point of signing him if you knew this was going to happen? I see why you draft Michael Penix. But again, you could have gone out and used that money on Jonathan Greenard or Danielle Hunter. A pass rusher that this team desperately needs, because now the secondary is getting picked apart because they have to guard or, run around for 5 to 6 seconds because you can't get after the quarterback. Right? The Matthew Judon trade has not worked out well. He's had a bad year. Right? Grady Jarrett's coming off ACL injuries. He's not been there. Arnold Ebiketti's not what we wanted him to be. Lorenzo Carter, since he tore his Achilles with the Giants, not the same guy. So, again, the Falcons failed this offseason setting the team up, right? And now you've got to hope that Michael Penix is the future, because if you missed on Michael Penix and you've missed on the Kirk Cousins signing, you're in the same spot you were last year. Kirk Cousins looks damn near unplayable because he cannot move off his spot. He will just fall. Watching this Raiders game, there was no business that being that close, and it was because of his poor play. He has 16 interceptions on the year. 1 touchdown, 9 interceptions in the last few games is ridiculous. And now you're stuck with all this guaranteed money, and then they're talking about cutting him, and it's like, well, why cut him? This team has no business. This team is too good to eat that kind of cap space just because it didn't work out. They knew something was in the water with Kirk Cousins. There's a reason why they drafted the most pro-ready quarterback in the draft to sit behind him for a few years. There's no way. They had a feeling. They had to. There's just no way around it. So it just dumbfounding. Now, with another dumbfounding thing, the Bears and Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, there's a clip on him. He's sitting there like this in pain. And if you watch the highlights of these games, and I talked about this before, the O-line, there's rumors, the offensive line hates him because he tries to do too much, and he's running around, and he's getting linemen hit when they don't need to be, and he's, it's causing penalties and everything. He's running around 7-8 seconds just trying to make a big play. And it's like, dude, check down, throw the ball away, something. And he's, hopping around, spinning, trying to be all this spectacularness because he's full of himself. And he has, Ocho said this right on Fox. When you come to the NFL from college, you go from being a king to a peasant, and you've got to make it up. But Caleb Williams didn't get the email. He still thinks he's a king, and it's getting to the point where it looks like the offense has lost confidence. The offensive line hates blocking for him because they don't know what's happening behind them. Thomas Brown, who probably is best fit as the OC, gets promoted. So they fire Shane Waldron 3 weeks. He's the OC. The offense starts looking better. Caleb Williams starts looking better. Not really, but Caleb Williams becomes meh. And we'll talk about where he sits in my rookie rankings. And then you fire the head coach and promote Thomas Brown. So now he's got to worry about the whole team instead of trying to fix your generational prospect. And it's just going back down. It's going back downhill. Everywhere. Dominic Foxworthy said everywhere the Bears have turned, they said, let's make the terrible decision. And it's true. Them and the Jets and the Falcons this year have gone in every direction and said, let's make the worst decision we possibly can. And it's awful. Awful. Right? Dan Orlovsky said this. Caleb Williams, and this is evident because the few games that have been on national TV, he does not look any better. He does not look more calm in the pocket. He doesn't look like he understands the offense more. I mean, hell, they even said that they're going to have to minimize the playbook to help him. He's had the playbook since like March. But they had to minimize it because he doesn't understand it already. So, to me, I mean, they failed him as an organization. They've got to go out and get Ben Johnson. I mean, you've got to do everything in your power to bring Ben Johnson over, and you've got to figure something out. I mean, there's no business. You've got Keenan Allen, you've got DJ Moore, you got Romeo Oduzze, you've got Cole Kmet, you've got DeAndre Swift. There's no business why this offense is so bad. And the defense is taking a step back too, which is just crazy to me. I mean, the Bears are so bad. So, Caleb Williams, for me, I mean, I think he stayed the same in the rookie rankings where I had him at. Just because he didn't really get much better. I mean, I have him 14. He's completing 62% of his passes. He's not throwing many interceptions. Like, he doesn't turn over the ball a lot, but it's just he's not making smart plays. Right? He has 408 rushing yards, and one of his things was he wasn't really supposed to run the ball a lot. But he has to because he's trying to do too much. It's a mad case of what Josh Allen had early in his career, but worse. Because he doesn't have, I don't even think the maturity of it. Like, Caleb Williams has still not understood that he's not that guy right now. He can be, but he's not him. And he's still trying to act like he's him. And it's just this nonchalant way of the organization, of him. And then when he's starting to get beat up, he's like, like, dude, get over yourself. It's just ridiculous. He's making boneheaded plays. He's trying to do too much. He does not understand the playbook. I mean, it's just bad. It's bad. This is why I like Jaden Daniels over him, because I knew Jaden Daniels would be more ready for that situation. And Caleb Williams was probably a guy that needed to probably sit for a month, which is such a shame to see happen because, again, he has Patrick Mahomes-like talent, but I think he has early Josh Allen variability. Where one week you're going to get an all-world quarterback, and the next week you're going to be a guy that's going to throw 3 picks and give you 150 yards. You're going to be like, what in the world is going on? It's not the guy we saw last week. So, it's just ridiculous, right? And the Bears have so much they've got to do. I think I have them taking a lineman in the first round of the draft, just because, like, watching some of the games too, it's evident that they struggle at times to protect him, which probably, Caleb looks like he's lost confidence, but it's probably in the way that the offensive line hasn't done their top-notch job. So you've got to go out and address the offensive line. Yeah, I've been taking Kelvin Banks at 9. And that's going to change. This was my first mock draft. Kelvin Banks, I think, is a guy that's going to fall. I didn't put him on the potential fallers, but we're going to talk about the rookie rankings, then the mock draft, then we're going to move to the NFL MVP, NBA, and college football playoffs. This episode is going to run a little long. Number 1, rookie, and it's pretty much a toss-up. Brock Bowers, I put him there just because he's breaking records, right? He's got 90 catches for 967 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a terrible Raiders team. And he may not break records because if Ritter is his quarterback, it's not going to look that well. I have Jaden Daniels still at number 2. He's completing 70.5% of his passes for over 3,000 yards passing, 17 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, with 656 yards rushing, with 6 touchdowns. He accounted for 23 touchdowns. And this Bo Nix thing, Bo Nix had like a 3-week stretch. Looks good, right? But outside of that, looking at Bo Nix, I have him at 5. He's completing 64% of his passes for a little under 3,000, 20 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Past 2 games, he's thrown a lot of picks. They're winning, and everyone's like, oh my goodness, he's playing well. But you look at his stats, 2 picks, 3 picks. He's turning the ball over again. And my thing is, if Jaden Daniels doesn't hurt his ribs for like 3 weeks, he's by far the rookie of the year. But he gets hurt. And I think it's impressive. 70% of his passes are completed. And he's got no one outside of McLaurin. And I mean, I had them taking, I think, Luther Burden falling to them. Yeah, I have Luther Burden falling to them. Or Mecca Buka. Or Trey Harris. I mean, they're going to have their picks, right? But outside of that, and I think someone who's having a very underrated, great rookie year, Brian Thomas. 64 catches, 956 yards, 8 touchdowns. I mean, looking at Malik Neighbors, he's got 90 catches, 901 yards. I mean, that's about 10 yards per catch with 4 touchdowns. Brian Thomas is doing this with less catches, right? He's got 26 less catches. He's got more yardage. Now, yes, Malik Neighbors has missed some games, but still, and 4 more touchdowns. Look at Brock Bowers. Again, 26 less catches, about the same amount of yards, more touchdowns. He's been a deep threat, and that's what they needed. They had a bunch of number 2s last year with Calvin Ridley. You needed a young number 1, and they got him. I love it. Quinion Mitchell's still 6 because, I mean, he's been a lockdown corner. Bucky Irving I have up at 7 because he has over 1,000 all-purpose yards. Tyron Tracy's got close, about 900 all-purpose yards, but I think he may fall so far. Ladd McConkey's at 8. I think just because he's been the number 1 receiver on this Chargers team. 63 catches, 873 yards, 5 touchdowns. Again, deep throws. And then you have the 2 defensive players that the Rams drafted in Braden Fisk, Jared Verse. 6 sacks for Braden Fisk, 4.5 for Jared Verse. And then Drake May. I have him ahead of Caleb Williams because Drake May is completing 68.5% of his passes. Yes, he's turning over in the ball a lot, but again, that's with a much diminished receiving core. And so, yes, under 2,000 yards, but I mean, the talent's there. You give them, and I had them taking Travis Hunter. You give him another, and you probably sign another receiver, then it's fixed. And I want to talk about this for a second. Talk about another receiver. The Raiders look so bad, right? And they have the number 1 or 2 pick, right? You take either Shedeur. If Shedeur gets to you, you take him. And then in the second round, I had them taking Cam Scatterboom because they don't have a real lockdown running back. Zeus didn't start the year. Zamir Watt did not start the year strong. They're rotating guys all the way through. Cam Scatterboom is the truth. I have him as the number 2 running back. I think just because of the devaluing of running backs in this class, he falls to the second round. High second round, though. I think they go out and get him. So you have him go 30. So you take him, and then T. Higgins will be a free agent. You sign T. Higgins. So you're looking at an offensive lineup as your is Cam Ward-Shedeur at your quarterback, Cam Scatterboom as your running back, Brock Bowers as your tight end, and T. Higgins and Jacoby Myers as your receivers. And Hunter Renfrow, the fact that Hunter Renfrow has not caught on to a roster with teams that need receiving help, like the Raiders, is an atrocity. Hunter Renfrow belongs in the league, and he is not, and it is not fair. Right? But I think that fixes the offense for the Raiders. You've got your talented quarterback with a talented running back to pair up with him. You've got a generational tight end, and you've got a really good number 1 receiver. And then you can go down the line and draft some linemen, because this is going to be a deep lineman class. I mean, a really deep lineman class. Guys that will fall into the 3rd round. I mean, there's depth at the offensive line with guys that will play all over the place, and you just plug and play. So back in the rookie rankings, right? And the back end, I have some honorable mentions: Mike Sandstrill, Tyke Smith, Latu's coming strong with 4 sacks. Tyler Nubbin's got 57 tackles. Isaac Guerrero as RB4, who is now hurt, has played well, and Jalen McMillan, as the season's gone on, has looked well. I have Devon Veal in the top 30. He's been like their number 2 receiver in Denver. Theo Johnson, before he got hurt, was the starting tight end. Ray Davis, as the backup, has about 500 all-purpose yards. Javon Bullard's been a tackling machine. I have Cooper DeJean up at 24, more because of his cover ability and the impacts he's made. He did not start the year out as a starter, but since he's been inserted, he's been great. I have Chop Williams at 22 just because he hasn't played enough. But he does have 5 sacks. He's been making an impact. Kalen Bullock with the 5 interceptions, 29 tackles. He'll probably go up. Romeo Duze, he's having a good season. 624 yards on 47 catches, 3 touchdowns. But, I mean, still, as the number 3 option, Marvin Harrison, again, he's not blowing it away. Trey McBride's been the number 2 guy, and then Michael Wilson's got a lot of play. But 687 yards, 7 touchdowns. The 7 touchdowns really boost him up. And maybe as the season goes on, I'll have one come out in about 2 more weeks. He'll get better, right? Caleb Williams sits at 14. Jalen McGoo, undrafted, 4 interceptions, 27 tackles, is rotating in with the number 19th rookie in this class. Cameron Kitchens, 3 interceptions, 27 tackles, both rotating in as starters. Xavier Worthy, playing better as of late, and Xavier Legette, both have a lot of catches, not big deep field threats. And then Kamari Lassiter, his 3 interceptions, 36 tackles. The picture of it will be like somewhere right here. But, I mean, this is a good class. And there's a lot of defensive players on the back end of this, like Jonah Ellis, Tarheeb Still. Both guys are dogs. They played well for their team. Bullock, I mean, I've already talked about him. Keon Coleman's fallen. He's fallen because he missed some time. But still, 23 catches for 481 yards is huge. I mean, he's been a deep ball threat. And he's got 3 touchdowns. That's why I had him higher than Worthy or Legette. I mean, this receiver class, they talked about how deep it was. I mean, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the top 30, 9 in the top 30, and then Jalen McMillan. So 10, Jalen McMillan is an honorable mention. And that's pretty good. The draft has done what you wanted it to do. It's offered up to probably one of the deepest receiving classes that's come in a while. I mean, I'm going to look at like the last one I popped up, the last draft I made. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's worked out. I mean, A.D. Mitchell's been solid. I mean, this draft class has been really good. Jalen Polk has not developed like we wanted him to. In the Patriots with New England, they've got to figure out something at receiver to get Drake May some options. But now, looking at the mock draft, I have the Giants going Cam Ward at 2. Titans take another tackle. They need to fix the other opposite side of the offensive line. And there's nobody yet, and I have risers in this draft, and it's going to make sense. I have guys who I would not be surprised if they rose. Dylan Gabriel, I think, could be the Bo Nix of this class. Kyle Kennard is a game wrecker on the edge. He doesn't have this high upside, but he's got a great floor. Love him at South Carolina. Princely Unamalin, game wrecker as an end out of Ole Miss. I loved him there. I think these are all guys I think could sneak in the back half of the first round or somewhere. Milrow, kind of like Anthony Richardson, where you're like, he's got sky-high potential. The production on the field wasn't there, but you baby him. I could see him jumping up and be someone the Titans take. Give you a Mariota feel. Cam Scattaboo, I think just if a team's looking for a running back, he will fill it. Trey Harris, if he doesn't get hurt, he's a first-round receiver. And I love him there. I have him going 27 to the Steelers because they need a number 2 to pair up. Right? Jahad Campbell, I mean, this isn't a good off-ball middle linebacker or off-ball linebacker class. Seattle needs linebackers. I have him. Some people have him as a day 2 pick. I have him just based off need and potential going late in the first round to Seattle because they need linebacker help. They're trying to redo it, and the best way to redo your linebacking core is through the draft. Smile Mondon, again, is another linebacker who I think is just I don't think he'll jump in the first round, but I think he go rounds 2 or 3 or 4 just because of his floor. And then guys I think falling. Josh Simmons, he missed a lot of time this year. Landon Jackson, just because he's at Arkansas and didn't put up a lot of great stats. Shamar Stewart, another guy who didn't put up didn't put up gaudy stats. It's more like you can see it, kind of like Michael, but Michael's put up a little bit better stats. And then Jack Sawyer, a guy that went to Ohio State. I've never been high on him, but I could see him falling far with De'Aaron Walker. But, so the big guys I have up, I have McMillan falling to 8 to the Browns. There's not many guys that need a receiver. I have the Jets taking Mason Graham. The Bengals taking a pass rusher and James Pierce Jr. because they need help getting to the quarterback. I have Dallas taking Ashton Jeanty. They need it. Rico Dallas have been good as of late, but Ashton Jeanty's a game changer, and you put him on that offensive line, or behind that offensive line, you take the pressure away from Dak Prescott. Mike Hill going to Miami because they need another pass rusher. Tyler Warren going to the Colts to help them they get that other option as well. Falcons taking Jalen Walker, who he plays a little bit as a middle linebacker, but he spies more. He's not your prototypical more pass coverage just than downhill, but then he also can line up as on the edge, get after your quarterback. I had the Cardinals taking Nick Sporton because, again, they need pass rushing. He's the next best available thing. I could see them going up and getting Walter Nolan. Nolan's a game wrecker on the inside. I have him then going to the 49ers because they need to refix their defensive front. And I think he'd be great for him. I had the Rams taking an upside pick on Siobhan Reevil out of Eastern Carolina. He got hurt towards ACL, but the kid's athletic as the day is long. Tampa Bay taking a tight end as Colston Loveland, but I could see Harold Fanning Jr., another guy I could see rising, going there. Great stats, probably the best tight end in the country. It's neck and neck between him and Tyler Warren. Luther Burden to the Commanders. I think the Chargers, they're a weird spot. I think they could go receiver. I could see the Chargers going receiver or running back. I mean, Cam Scatterboot could go there. The line's pretty much fixed. I had them taking Kenneth Grant to help bulk up the interior of the defensive line. I've already explained Seattle, Jahad Campbell, because, I mean, they're going to have to take someone. I mean, when looking at off-ball linebackers, it's not a deep class. I mean, unless you put Jalen Walker as your off-ball linebacker and put him in the middle, but he's more of a natural edge, but he can play off-ball. Another guy that could probably, I mean, there's a few guys. Harold Perkins, so a lot of people call him as an off-ball linebacker. I could see him actually being an edge because he's so athletic off the edge, but I have him rated as an off-ball linebacker. But, I mean, there's guys that can jump just because of the floor. Like, they're not going to be outstanding all-pros, right, most likely. But they're going to be guys that give you 110 tackles to 120. They're just going to do their job, and they're going to get it done efficiently, well, and it looks good, right? Danny Stoutman, Barrett Carter, Chris Paul Jr., all guys. I think the upside pick is Jahad Campbell, who's probably got the best upside out of them all as an off-ball linebacker. But, again, the other guys are more guys of higher floor than ceiling. And so, I like how they look. But, again, I had Jahad Campbell going up there. I had the Ravens taking Dylan Walker. The D-line has been kind of underwhelming this year. They need some youth beside Matabuke and Owafe. So I think they take Deion Walker. But I could see them also going Derek Harmon. I have him rising. Maybe Landon Jackson eventually goes there, or Princely. Josh Simmons to the Texans. They need to fix their pass protection. And then I have the Packers taking another tackle as well to help out. And then I have the Steelers. I think teams are going to be looking at quarterbacks with the Commanders and the Steelers in the back half of this first round because they just need number twos to help go up beside them. Like, you got George Pickens as the Steelers, but you need a number two, right? You've got Scary Terry at the Commanders, but you need a number two. You need someone else to put on the other side of them. But you need someone to put on the other side of him. Vikings, I had them taking Benjamin Morrison just to help figure out the secondary. I could see them going linebacker. Dallas Turner is starting to come on as the year goes on. He's starting to get more playing time, and that looks scary because Greenard and Pat Jones and Van Ginkel all look really good. Another team that I could see them taking a linebacker. The Vikings take Darren Harmon. They're in a weird spot. They don't really need much. I think you could possibly even go offensive line if you wanted to, or secondary. I could see them taking Billy Bowman or a Jahad Barron or Trey Amos, Nick from South Carolina. You could see them going that far. I had the Eagles taking Landon Jackson just to get another edge rusher, just someone else to go after the quarterback. They could replenish the linebacking core. They could. I mean, there's guys that you could be like, yeah, I could see a linebacker, but you could go edge. The Chiefs, they missed with their second round pick this year at tackle, so I think they go Cameron Williams at tackle, or they could go Wyatt Williams or Tyler Booker to help put out there, or Emory Jones, Josh Connery, guys like that. Tate Ratledge, but he's more of a tackle or guard. And then the Lions, I've been banging on the table. They need an edge, and I think this would be a perfect match for them. Would be Princey Ulamalen or Kyle Kennard to put on the opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson. Both game wreckers. Both guys are going to go harass the quarterback, and that's something they need. I mean, it's been evident this year that they, outside of Aiden Hutchinson, they had nobody else to go after the quarterback, and they needed them. Second round, I have the Giants addressing the offensive line. It's been another struggle. In the second round, I have the we're just going to hit the quarterbacks. I have the Titans taking Dylan Gabriel, Browns taking Carson Beck, the Cowboys taking a defensive lineman because they need more. The Saints taking an edge out of Ohio State. I have 3 Ohio State players going straight. Saints taking an edge, JT Tuamalo. Then I have Xavier Watts going to the Panthers to help fix the secondary. Chargers taking then Isaiah Bond because Quentin Johnson does not look like he's going to be him. So you get a number 2. I had Tampa taking Kyle Kennard because they need a pass rusher. And then Broncos, again, they don't have a real number 1 running back. Omari Hampton or Caleb Johnson are going to be those guys that if they fall to the 50s, they're going to get taken. And then I have Seattle taking Quinn Ewers, a guy that could develop and benefit from sitting behind Geno Smith for a year or two. And then the Commanders going out and get another pass rusher, Mike Green. They could go secondary, go Denzel Burke or Kevin Winston. I have the Bills taking Tate Ratledge at guard and Kevin Winston at 61 at safety. And then I have the Chiefs going out after another pass rusher and Jack Sawyer and the Lions going after Danny Stoutman at linebacker. Just because, again, the linebacker depth has been so bad this year, you get some more youth with Jack Campbell. And then the Eagles taking Harold Perkins to be kind of an edge or inside linebacker, wherever they want to put him, right? And this will be up there. I'll probably have round 1 and round 2, or whichever way the photo's looking. But yeah. Now, the NFL MVP race, we'll talk about that. I think right now, so you look at Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley has to break the record to win MVP, and if he does, hands down, he MVP. But you look at Lamar Jackson, he's got 34 passing touchdowns, like 4 rushing, but like 700 yards rushing. He's only got 4 interceptions. It looks great, right? Then you've got Josh Allen, who's got like 26 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 500 yards rushing, but 11 rushing touchdowns. But it's the difference in passing yards, because like Lamar's got 200 more passing yards and then like 10 more passing touchdowns. And then, it's just that. I think Lamar's put the ball in the end zone more. And to the point of, Josh Allen, the last 3 games, he's been insane. And if he finishes this year like this, he's the MVP. Like, you can't deny him. He's willed this team that really wasn't supposed to be this good to the playoffs, to top seed. They just knocked off the Lions. Again, the Lions getting banged up with injuries. So, I think right now, if you were to, it's neck and neck. We've got to see how these next few weeks play, the next 3 weeks. But if Josh Allen cools off a bit and Saquon doesn't break the record, it's Lamar Jackson. And, you can't hate it. This isn't going to be like the Heisman Trophy race where Travis Hunter won it and you're like, man, Ashton Jeanty should have won it. All 3 criteria for all 3 guys are there. Whoever hits it, and if all 3 hit them, then it's a coin toss. We're having one of the best years of MVP races because every other week it's like someone you're like, well, Lamar Jackson. And then it was, well, Saquon Barkley's going pretty nuts. And then as of late, you're like, well, Josh Allen's being insane. You just don't know. And so it's wonderful to watch. And it's going to be very interesting to see. Right now, I'd go between Saquon and Lamar. But again, if Josh Allen keeps this up, you can't deny him. You can't at all. So it'll be very interesting. Next is the NBA rookie rankings. And as I was making this, Jared McCain went down with an injury. And that was very sad to see. Because I'm high on him. I only went 15 deep this time. So right now, and Zach Edey just came back. I think this is Stephon Castle and Zach Edey's, and maybe Missy's Rookie of the Year thing to win. Stephon Castle's getting better. Yes, his shooting splits aren't that great, right? But I have him moving up from 8 to 4. It's 12.1 points per game, about a steal a game and 4 assists. He's getting better. So I could see him, if McCain misses a big stretch, taking that spot. But McCain, 16 points a game, 46% from the field, 38% from the 3, and 87% from the free throw line. I think it was stupid that they kept putting him off the bench. He's obviously one of your better players at guard. start him. But they don't. He tears his meniscus and he's out. And Edey's been out, but Edey's coming back now. He may come in at the 5. If he keeps going what he was doing, 15 points, 9 rebounds, about a steal and a block a game, shooting from threes, I mean, you can't deny him either. But Stephon Castle is the running mate for Victor Wembanyama, and I like it. I have Edey falling down 3 spots just because of injuries. I have Rishad Shea falling down 3 because very inefficient, under 40%. He's just not very efficient with his shooting, taking a lot of shots. The Hawks are looking great as of late, coming on strong. Dyson Daniels looks fantastic, but outside of that, Missy, I have him jumping up 6 from 12 because he's now averaging almost a double-double a game with 1.2 blocks, a steal, on great efficiency. I mean, none of these guys are even close to 30 minutes a game. Stephon Castle's at 27.4, but that's the highest. Outside of Carlton Carrington, who I have dropping 4, because he became very inefficient and fell out of the starting lineup. Alex Sarr fixing his shooting percentages. And he's getting better. I mean, 2 blocks a game, still shooting 38% from the field, but the threes are coming down, is what we needed to see. I have him only dropping a spot. Missy and Castle are the only 2 that really jumped up. Connect jumped up, but he's now cooled off again as of when I made this. So, and again, rounding it out, Tristan De La Silva, just because of what he's played, pure playing time. And, I mean, 40%. This class is not shot very efficiently. Ryan Dunn's giving you 6 points on 41% from the field. Asia Mitchell, a two-way player, 48% from the field, 5.6 points, about a steal a game off the bench. Keyshawn George has gotten terrible shooting percentages. I mean, it's nosedive. We're looking at 33% from the field. It's in 26.2 minutes per game. I have him dropping 4. Ron Holland's starting to come up. I had Tristan De La Silva jumping 7 from 17 to 10. Ron Holland, he looks solid. I mean, 46% from the field. I still would like him to knock down more threes efficiently. He doesn't have to shoot more, but I like him to hit him at a better clip. And then Donovan Clingan just now came back from injury. He's only averaging 17 minutes a game, but 2.1 blocks, 7 rebounds, 6 points. Looks still pretty good as a future center. Now, on to the last part in this college football playoffs, and we're just going to be quickly running down. We're going to quickly knock it out, right? And I'm going to pick my winners and who's going to go through, right? Clemson, Texas. They're going to play the Arizona State. Texas. It's going to be close. It's a coin toss for me, toss, but I think Texas goes and plays Arizona State, and I think Arizona State would be the favorite in that because I really like Arizona State. Tennessee, Ohio State, another coin toss. It just depends if they stay to the normal script. If Ohio State sticks to the normal script that they've been on outside of the Michigan game, they beat Tennessee. But if they go and they get in a dogfight with Tennessee and try to out-physical them, like running the ball, it's not going to work. And Tennessee, if Nico can be confident and they can hit downfield passes and take advantage of this secondary, I think Tennessee can do it. But the question is, can Nico do it? There are a lot, there's not like insanely talented dudes, but there's like fringe first round picks, a lot of second rounders on this defensive line that are going to be up in his face all game long. So it's going to be the fact, can he keep his cool? Like they talked about the Georgia game, but he lost his cool at times. Can he keep his cool? I don't know. Another coin toss. I would have Ohio State winning this game. But it'd be close, and they play Oregon, and it'd be a matchup. Next up, SMU, Penn State. I think SMU's not there yet. I think Penn State has something to fight for. I think they have something to prove. James Franklin's got to win this game. And very similar to Ohio State, Ryan O'Day's got to win this game. If Ryan Day loses, he's fired. And Vrabel becomes the head coach. Because, Day hasn't won anything, really. Same to James Franklin. He has not won anything. If SMU beats Penn State at Penn State, you've got to fire James Franklin. And then they play Boise State. And the Boise State thing, that's either going to be a great game or it's going to be a blowout. Now, last up, Indiana, Notre Dame. And again, I love Jeremiah Love for Notre Dame. It's in Notre Dame. I get a coin flip. I love these matchups. The winner will play Georgia. It depends if Indiana gets flustered like they did against Ohio State, they're going to lose. it's going to be ugly. But if they can keep their cool, not make the mistakes that they did against Ohio State, it's going to be a dogfight. And it'll just come down to the big plays, the fundamentals. And both coaches are great at it. So it'll just be interesting to what the decisions are made. And they go on and they'll play Georgia. But that's all for today's episode. Thank you for watching. All this stuff will be posted up soon. So, yeah, see y'all next time.